Self-discipline is the foundation that makes everything possible. It's the skill that keeps you moving forward when your energy is low and your motivation is gone. Without it, even the best plans fall apart. Today, we'll explore why self-discipline matters more than anything else in your life. You'll hear honest truths about the struggles you face and how pushing through those moments can change everything. If you've ever felt stuck, overwhelmed, or ready to quit, this video will help you see how mastering discipline can give you the power to take control of your future. Stay with me, because what comes next can transform the way you live and grow every single day. Let's get started. Number 1, force yourself to do it when you feel nothing. Discipline is not about how you feel. It's about what you decide. You're not always going to wake up with energy. You won't always feel like showing up. Some mornings you'll open your eyes and feel like doing absolutely nothing. You'll look at your goals and they won't excite you. You'll think about your responsibilities and feel empty. That's when it counts. That's the moment that separates those who live with regret from those who live with results. Anyone can move when they're motivated. Anyone can act when they're excited. But discipline, real discipline, means pushing yourself when your emotions are quiet, when your heart isn't in it, when your body is tired, when your mind says stop. That's the battle. That's the internal war you have to win. Most people live based on how they feel. If they're tired, they rest. If they're unmotivated, they wait. If they're not in the mood, they put it off. But the problem is, life doesn't wait. Success doesn't pause. Time doesn't slow down. While you're sitting there trying to feel something, the clock keeps ticking and your future keeps slipping away. Discipline says, I move anyway. Discipline says, I don't wait for the mood, I create it. It's easy to get things done when the energy is high. But what about when it's not? That's the test. When your head hurts, when your motivation is gone, when the excitement wears off, that's when you find out who you really are. Can you still show up? Can you still give effort? Can you still take action? Discipline is the ability to keep moving when your feelings are not on your side. It's doing the right thing when every part of you wants to do nothing. It's staying committed when your emotions are quiet and your energy is low. You see, feelings are temporary, but results, they last. That's why it matters what you do when you feel nothing. Some people wait for inspiration, but if you're serious about your life, you can't afford to wait. You can't afford to let a whole day pass because you didn't feel like it. If you only act when it feels good, your dreams will die waiting. You have to train yourself to act no matter what, to sit down and write when there's no inspiration, to get up and train when your body feels slow, to keep your promises even when they don't feel exciting. Self-discipline is about owning your choices in the moments when they don't feel easy. It's saying, this matters even if I don't feel it right now. You're not a machine. You'll have off days, but off days don't give you permission to stop. They give you a chance to prove how serious you are. If you want to be great, you have to earn it. On the days when nothing inside of you wants to try, you have to develop a quiet strength, a kind of power that doesn't rely on emotion, a kind of focus that isn't moved by how you feel in the moment, because your future is counting on you to follow through even when your heart is quiet. You have to stop depending on motivation and start depending on self-respect. Respect for your time, respect for your potential, respect for the life you want to build. When you get up and do the work while others are sleeping, when you stay focused while others are scrolling, when you stick to your goals while others are quitting, that's when you start becoming the kind of person you admire. Not because it felt good, but because you didn't give yourself an option to back down. Most people will give you permission to quit. They'll say, take it easy, rest a little longer, skip this one. And sometimes rest is right. But other times, what you really need is to force yourself to move, to stand up and remind yourself that you are in charge, that your future is worth a little pain, that your goals are more important than comfort. People think forcing yourself is negative. It's not. It's one of the highest forms of self-control. When you push through a day where everything feels heavy, you grow. When you take action without emotion, you gain power over your mind. You take back the wheel. You stop letting your feelings run your life. And it's not just about big goals. It's about the small win, the little decisions you make every day. Forcing yourself to clean your room, forcing yourself to finish the task, forcing yourself to speak up when it's hard. Those choices shape you. They turn into your habits, and your habits turn into your future. People who succeed don't always love what they do, but they do it anyway. They understand that feelings are not always reliable, that discipline is stronger than emotion, that one small step in the right direction, taken again and again, is what creates a powerful life. Think about it. Where would your life be right now if you had forced yourself to do what you said you would do? How far could you be if you had acted instead of hesitating? If you had chosen effort instead of excuses? That's what discipline gives you. It gives you progress. Even on the quiet day, you don't need to feel ready. You don't need to feel excited. You need to move. You need to take the next step. You need to train your mind to listen to your decisions, not your moods. That's how you build real strength. That's how you earn real confidence. That's how you live with pride. Not just in what you achieve, but in who you become. You have to reach a point where your discipline is stronger than your distractions, where your actions are led by your values, not your impulse, where your mind says, "This is what I said I'd do," and your body follows without question. You can build that kind of discipline. You can become that kind of person. But it starts with one moment, one decision, one choice to act when you feel nothing. That choice, repeated day after day, builds a foundation no feeling can shake. It's not about being superhuman. It's about being consistent. It's about refusing to break the promise you made to yourself. It's about realizing that your future deserves effort, even when the fire isn't there. Especially when the fire isn't there. Discipline is quiet. It doesn't show off. It doesn't need applause, but it builds something real, something solid. And in a world full of noise and distractions, that kind of self-control becomes your greatest strength, your greatest advantage, your greatest freedom. Number 2, train your mind to obey what is right. Your mind is powerful. It controls every decision you make, every action you take, every word you speak. But it doesn't automatically do what's best for you. It doesn't naturally choose the hard path or the right path. That takes training. That takes direction. If you don't guide your mind, it will wander. If you don't instruct your mind, it will follow whatever feels easy. You have to step in and take control. You have to teach it what to follow and what to reject. Every time you make a choice, your mind takes note. If you give in to laziness, it remembers that. If you quit when things get hard, it keeps that in the system. If you lie to avoid discomfort, your brain learns that avoiding truth works. That's how habits are built, by what you allow your mind to accept and repeat. That's why you have to train it to do what is right, not what is convenient. Doing the right thing is not always exciting. It doesn't always come with rewards in the moment. In fact, it's often harder, quieter, slower. But that's where character is built. That's where strength is created. When you choose to do what is right, even when it doesn't feel good, you rewire your mind to honor discipline over comfort, integrity over shortcuts, responsibility over ease. The people who rise in life aren't the ones with the easiest paths. They're the ones who told their minds what mattered most and stayed loyal to it. When your friends start giving up, when the noise of the world tells you to take it easy, your mind must already be trained to ignore it. You don't rise by reacting to life. You rise by responding with purpose, by filtering every decision through a standard you refuse to lower. Training your mind is not about perfection. It's about direction. It's about building a mindset that follows truth, even when temptation pulls at you. You're not always going to get it right. You're not always going to feel strong. But if you've trained your mind to return to what is right, you'll get back up quicker. You'll recover faster. You'll waste less time on guilt and more time on growth. Too many people let their minds lead them without checking where it's going. They say whatever comes up. They do whatever feels good. They give up when it gets boring. But if you want to live a life you're proud of, you have to reverse that. You have to be the one leading your thoughts, not the other way around. That starts by asking yourself, is this right? Not. Do I feel like it? Not. Will anyone notice? Not. Can I get away with it? Just, is this the right thing to do? If the answer is yes, then follow through. If the answer is no, then walk away. That's training. That's discipline. That's what separates the responsible from the reactive. This isn't just about big decisions. It's about small moments, the ones nobody sees, like choosing to finish what you started instead of quitting halfway. Like staying calm when anger wants to take over, like getting up on time when everything in you wants to sleep in. That's where the real work happens. Not in the spotlight, but in the quiet moments where only you know what you did. You have to be willing to correct yourself. You have to recognize when your mind is leaning the wrong way and bring it back. You have to build a system inside you that checks your thinking before it becomes your behavior. Just because a thought shows up doesn't mean it deserves your action. Not every thought is true. Not every impulse deserves power. You decide what your mind listens to. You decide what gets your energy. And when you fail, when you fall short, when you break your own standards, you don't give up. You learn. You adjust. You reinforce the right path. You don't shame yourself, but you don't excuse yourself either. You acknowledge it, and then you get back to the standard you set. That's how mental strength is built. Not by being perfect, but by being relentless about getting better. The world is full of opinion. People will try to pull you in every direction, but when your mind is trained, you don't move every time the wind changes. You stand. You stay committed. You don't argue with distractions. You don't waste time chasing what isn't part of your vision. You've already trained your thoughts to focus, to filter, to follow what's right. This kind of discipline gives you peace, not because everything gets easy, but because your mind is no longer your enemy. You're not fighting with yourself every day. You're not stuck in endless arguments between what's right and what's comfortable. You've already made that decision. You've already built that path. You don't have to start from scratch. Every morning, you just follow the system you trained. This is how you take control of your time. This is how you protect your energy. This is how you stop feeling stuck. Because now your decisions aren't random. They're not emotional. They're not built on how you feel in the moment. They're built on truth. They're built on purpose. They're built on a foundation you decided to honor. When your mind starts slipping into old patterns, don't ignore it. Catch it. Speak to it. Remind it who is in charge. You can't afford to let your thoughts run wild. You have goals. You have standards. You have a future worth protecting. Every time you stop yourself from reacting the wrong way, you build that future a little more. You become what you allow. You grow in the direction of your dominant thought. And you win when your mind obeys what you know is right. Even when nobody is looking. Even when nothing feels urgent. Even when no reward is guaranteed. The most powerful person in the room isn't the loudest. It's the one whose mind is under control. The one who doesn't need approval to take action. The one who doesn't need permission to do what's right. The one who doesn't need the mood to match the mission. That can be you. Not because you were born with something special, but because you chose to train your thoughts every single day. You chose to reject excuses. You chose to raise your standards. You chose to follow through when it was hard. And those choices are what shape a disciplined, focused, honorable life. Number 3, choose long-term growth over short-term pleasure. Always. Every day. You are given a choice. You can either do what feels good right now, or you can do what will help you grow later. Most people choose what feels easy. They want to relax instead of study. They want to scroll instead of learn. They want to avoid the hard work and grab whatever brings comfort in the moment. But what they don't realize is that every time they pick short-term pleasure, they trade their future for a few seconds of escape. They don't lose everything all at once. They lose it slowly. One easy choice at a time. Growth demands effort. It asks you to wait. It tells you no when everyone else says yes. But that's where the real life begins. That's where progress happens. You don't grow by staying where it's comfortable. You grow by doing what stretches you, even when it's not exciting, even when it's not rewarding today. The people who make something meaningful out of their lives are not the ones who always feel good. They are the ones who decide to keep showing up, not for pleasure, but for purpose. Short-term pleasure can destroy your discipline. It tells you that rest is more important than progress. It convinces you that one more hour of entertainment won't hurt. But it's never just one more hour. It becomes a pattern. It becomes a habit. And before you know it, you've spent years chasing feelings instead of building strength. That's the danger of living for now. It steals from later. It costs you the life you were supposed to build. Long-term growth requires honesty. You have to be real with yourself. You have to admit when you've been wasting time. You have to accept when your actions haven't matched your goals. That's the first step. No more pretending that comfort leads to success. No more lying to yourself that you'll start tomorrow. If you want to grow, you have to act like it. You have to say no to what pulls you away from your direction. It's not easy. Saying no to the things that bring quick pleasure takes strength, but that's the kind of strength that lasts. That's the kind of strength that builds a strong foundation. When you choose growth, you delay the good feelings for something greater. You tell yourself that your future is worth more than a quick distraction. You prove to yourself that your goals are more important than your impulses. Most people are addicted to comfort. They do whatever it takes to avoid discomfort. They avoid hard conversations. They avoid effort. They avoid reality. And because of that, they stay stuck. But you don't have to live that way. You can train yourself to seek out the things that build you instead of the things that numb you. You can train your mind to find satisfaction in progress instead of quick relief. There's power in waiting. There's power in choosing not to give in. Every time you walk past a distraction, you remind yourself of what really matters. Every time you finish what you started instead of giving up for something easier, you send a message to your brain that this goal is non-negotiable. You're not doing it for applause. You're doing it because you respect yourself too much to settle. Long-term growth is about decision, not one big choice, but small ones. Over and over. Waking up and going to work even when you'd rather sleep. Studying instead of wasting time. Practicing instead of watching others succeed. Those moments look small, but they add up. Over time, they build something strong, something real, something you can be proud of. You have to be able to see beyond today. You have to be able to say, this is hard, but it's necessary. This is boring, but it matters. This is uncomfortable, but it's part of the process. That's what makes you different. That's what puts you ahead. Not talent, not luck, just the ability to choose what leads to growth over what gives relief. Sometimes you'll feel like you're missing out. You'll see other people enjoying themselves while you're focused on your goals. You'll question if it's worth it. You'll wonder if all this effort is really leading anywhere. But you keep going. If you keep building, one day you'll look back and realize you didn't miss anything important. You just skipped the distractions and found something better. You won't always see results right away. Growth takes time. But just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not working. Every disciplined choice you make is shaping you. Every time you stick to your values, even when no one is watching, you become stronger. That strength stays with you. It becomes your foundation. It carries you through the days when life gets harder. There will be pressure. There will be moments where your mind tells you to just give in. But pressure is not the enemy. It's the signal that you're growing. It's the weight that shapes you. You don't become stronger by avoiding pressure. You become stronger by facing it and refusing to fold. That's how you build the kind of life that doesn't fall apart when things get tough. Choosing long-term growth means making peace with discomfort. It means trading quick hits of pleasure for varsing achievement. It means looking in the mirror and saying, I'm not going to let momentary feelings decide the course of my life. It means being honest about what matters most and protecting it with every choice you make. You're not going to feel motivated every day. That's why you need discipline. That's why you need clarity. If you don't have a clear reason why you're saying no to comfort, it will pull you in every time. But if you know what you're working for, if you know what you're building, then you'll be able to say no with strength. You'll be able to keep walking, even when everything around you tries to slow you down. What you do in private shows up in public. The effort you give when no one is watching creates results that speak louder than anything you could say. The choices you make when no one is clapping are the ones that define your path. Long-term growth isn't flashy. It's quiet. It's patient. It's steady. But it works. It builds something you can stand on. It gives you something real, You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be honest. Honest about what you want. Honest about what's holding you back. Honest about the fact that the life you want requires discipline, not excuses. Once you accept that, everything changes. You stop chasing pleasure and start chasing progress. You stop reacting and start creating. You stop drifting and start building. And over time, that builds a life no shortcut could ever give you. Number 4, wake up with purpose and stick to your plan. The way you begin your day shapes everything that follows. If you wake up with no direction, you leave your life to chance. You let the world tell you what to do, how to feel, and what to focus on. But if you wake up with purpose, you take control from the very first moment. You remind yourself that your time matters. You don't hit the snooze button. You don't scroll for 30 minutes. You rise with intention because your goals are waiting. People who achieve something meaningful don't start their day wandering. They know what needs to be done and why it matters. They don't wait for clarity. They create it by following the plan they made. They understand that discipline is not about feeling excited. It's about making decisions in advance and honoring them, especially when you don't feel like it. That's where your strength is built. When you wake up and follow your plan, even when your mood tries to pull you away from it. It's not just about waking up early. It's about waking up with meaning. You can rise at 5 in the morning and still waste the day if you don't have direction. Purpose means you know what your time is for. It means you're not waiting for things to happen, you're making them happen. It means you're not letting your day be shaped by distractions, temptations, or other people's demands. You have a plan and you stick to it because you respect your future. Sticking to your plan is how you prove to yourself that your word matters. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you build trust, and that trust becomes confidence. But if you keep making plans and breaking them, your mind learns not to take you seriously. That's why it's not enough to write goals, you have to follow through. You have to show up, not just once. Every day, especially on the days when it would be easier not to. Discipline starts the moment you open your eyes. You have a choice. Stay in bed and drift, or get up and build. People often say they want to improve their lives, but they keep starting their days with avoidance. They rush, they guess, they react, and then they wonder why things don't change. But change doesn't come from desire alone. It comes from structure, from doing what needs to be done not just once, but every day, until it becomes part of who you are. Your morning sets the tone. If you start with chaos, the rest of the day feels scattered. But if you start with purpose, you carry clarity with you. You know what matters. You don't waste energy deciding what to do next. You've already decided. That frees your mind to focus, to create, to push forward. That's the real value of a plan. It removes confusion. It gives your day direction and momentum. Following your plan doesn't mean every hour will be perfect. There will be distractions. There will be moments when you're tired or frustrated. But the plan is there to keep you steady, to remind you of what you said you would do. It becomes your anchor when your emotions try to take over. And the more you stick to it, the stronger your focus becomes. You can't rely on motivation to carry you through. Motivation is temporary. Some mornings you'll feel strong, other mornings you won't. But your plan doesn't care about your mood. It's there because you created it in a clear state of mind, when you weren't tired or distracted. That's why it's important to honor it. You planned for the life you want. Now it's time to live it, one step at a time. When you wake up with no purpose, your day is full of decisions. What should I do next? Should I rest or push forward? Should I start now or wait a little longer? That mental tug of war is exhausting. It drains your energy before you even get moving. But if you already have a clear plan, there's no debate. You know what comes next. You take action, and every action builds momentum. Consistency beats intensity. You don't need to do something huge every day. You just need to follow through, one task at a time, one promise at a time. And over time, those small steps add up. You start seeing changes, not just in your results, but in your mindset. You begin to see yourself as someone who takes action, someone who doesn't wait, someone who does the work. No matter what, There's power in living this way. When you wake up with purpose, you don't feel like a victim of your schedule. You don't feel behind or lost. You feel in charge. You know why you're doing what you're doing. You're not chasing other people's timelines. You're following your own mission. That creates peace. That creates strength. Many people waste years because they never created structure. They drift from one thing to another. They keep starting over. They keep getting distracted. But those who stick to their plan, even when it's boring, even when it's slow, they are the ones who grow. They are the ones who build lives filled with meaning. Sticking to your plan is about more than productivity. It's about identity. When you follow through on your word, you show yourself who you really are. You remind yourself that you are reliable, capable, and focused. That kind of self-respect is earned through daily discipline, through showing up, even when no one sees it, through staying on course, even when no one else is cheering. There are going to be days when things don't go as expected. You'll face problems. You'll get interrupted. You'll feel like giving in. But if you have purpose, you'll keep going. If you have a plan, you'll adjust without losing direction. And if you've built the habit of starting strong each morning, you'll bounce back faster. Your structure becomes your strength. Your plan becomes your protection. You don't need a perfect schedule. You just need a consistent one. One that reflects your values. One that moves you closer to your goals. One that makes room for effort instead of excuses. That's how progress happens. Not through random effort, but through steady steps guided by purpose. The world is full of noise. There will always be something trying to pull your attention. That's why purpose is so important. It keeps your mind focused. It helps you say no to what doesn't matter. It reminds you why you started in the first place. And when that purpose is strong, sticking to your plan becomes easier. Not because the work gets lighter, but because the reason becomes greater. You wake up with purpose, not just because you want results, but because you want to live with integrity, because you want to feel proud at the end of the day, because you don't want to waste the time you've been given, because you know that today is a chance you'll never get again. Number 5, control your actions even when no one is watching. Your character is not built in public. It's built in silence. The real test of discipline is what you choose when the world isn't looking. When there's no applause, when there's no pressure, when the only person who knows what you did is you. That's where your strength is revealed. Not in what you do once in a while, when people notice, but in what you choose consistently, when no one is there to see it. That is where the foundation of your life is laid. Most people behave well when there's an audience. They speak carefully when they know someone's listening. They work harder when a supervisor is around. They follow rules when the camera's on. But the people who grow, the people who truly transform, are the ones who hold themselves to the same standard, whether it's seen or unseen. They don't wait for accountability. They live it, because their values are not for show. They're part of who they are. The world teaches you to seek attention, to care about how others view you, to focus on the appearance of effort instead of the reality of it. But real self-respect comes from knowing that your behavior reflects your beliefs, not your audience. When you control your actions in private, you build trust with yourself, and that trust becomes confidence. Quiet, unshakable, real confidence, not based on likes, not based on praise, but built from within, when no one is watching. Your discipline is pure. There's no one to impress. There's no one to reward you. That's where your real motives show up. Do you follow through because you believe in the work, or do you only perform when you're being judged? This is where integrity is tested. This is where you either become stronger or stay stuck. The gap between what you say and what you do gets exposed when the eyes are gone. And the truth is, those moments in private shape everything. The choices you make in your room, the way you spend your time when the phone is off, whether you stick to your routine when nobody checks on you, whether you give your full effort or cut corners just because no one's there to notice. These moments are not small. They define who you are. They shape the results you get. They build the habits that eventually show up in public. Your future self will either thank you or blame you for what you do when no one is around. Those extra minutes you choose to study, that workout you finish, even though nobody is keeping track, That decision to avoid the easy way out, even when you could have gotten away with it. Every action you take in secret creates either power or weakness. It creates clarity or confusion, and you are the only one responsible for which it becomes. You have to hold yourself to a higher standard, not because anyone is forcing you to, but because you know what's at stake. You know that your goals are real. You know that shortcuts always come with hidden costs. You know that living without self-control leads to regret, and that knowledge becomes your reason to stay steady. That's what separates the serious from the casual. That quiet refusal to break your own rules, even when no one else would know. Discipline is doing the right thing by default. It's turning away from temptation before it even becomes an option. It's building a mindset that doesn't depend on being reminded, or it's acting with consistency, no matter the setting. Because once you build the habit of controlling your actions in private, it becomes natural to lead with integrity in every area of your life. The strongest people are not always loud. They're not always, but they live with a quiet strength that shows up when it matters most. They don't make excuses for their behavior. They don't need validation to do what they said they'd do. They lead themselves. And that's the hardest kind of leadership, to guide your own behavior without needing eyes on you, without waiting for praise, without using accountability as a crutch. When you live this way, you develop a deeper sense of pride. Not pride in the ego sense, but pride that comes from doing what's right even when it's hard, even when it's unnoticed. That kind of pride is fuel. It gives you a reason to keep going when the path gets tough. It reminds you of who you are when pressure rises. It keeps your feet grounded in your values when the world tempts you to drift. There will always be moments when it would be easy to break your word, to take the easy way out, to give half effort just because it doesn't matter to anyone else. But every time you give in to that, you weaken your own identity. And every time you resist, every time you stand firm, you build strength that no one can take away from you. It becomes part of your character. It becomes your personal standard. You don't need a spotlight to be excellent. You need discipline. You need clarity. You need the decision that says, I will control myself, no matter who is watching, no matter what the situation, no matter how I feel in the moment. That mindset will take you places that talent alone never could. That mindset will protect your progress. That mindset will carry you through the days when motivation fades. Control is a muscle, and the more you exercise it in quiet, the stronger it gets in pressure. The more you keep your actions aligned with your purpose in private, the easier it becomes to stand strong in public. It's not about being seen. It's about being solid. It's about being someone you can trust, someone who does the work because it, not because anyone's looking. When you build your life on that kind of foundation, you don't need to prove anything. Your consistency speaks for you. Your results speak for you. And your actions, seen and unseen, tell the world exactly who you are. Number 6, do the hard things especially when you hate them. Discipline begins when you do what you don't like. Growth begins when you step into the tasks that push against your comfort. If you only do what you enjoy, if you only move when it feels easy, you stay the same. That's the truth most people avoid. They keep looking for motivation, for excitement, for the perfect mood. But the work that transforms your life is rarely enjoyable in the beginning. It's the hard things. The ones that feel heavy, uncomfortable, boring, or painful, that build your strength. Everyone wants results. Few are willing to pay the price. And that price is often hidden in the things you don't like doing. Waking up early, sticking to a schedule, reading what's difficult, practicing the same thing over and over, saying no to distractions, staying focused when your mind wanders. These things don't feel good, but they're necessary. They're where the real progress happens. When you hate doing something, that's exactly when you need to do it, because your reaction to discomfort shows you your limit. If you always turn away from what you dislike, your potential stays locked. But when you face it, when you go straight into what you want to avoid, you prove to yourself that your feelings don't control you, that your decisions are not ruled by mood, that you are capable of choosing what's right over what's easy. This is not about punishment. It's about preparation. Every hard thing you face now prepares you for the responsibilities that will come later. Every time you endure something difficult, you become more equipped to handle pressure, to solve problems, to lead, to win. People who avoid discomfort are never ready when life challenges them. But those who train in difficulty, who push through what they dislike, they are steady when storms come. When you hate a task, your mind tries to convince you it doesn't matter, that you can skip it, that you can come back to it later. But that's when you have to double down. That's when you have to remind yourself that this is where discipline is built. Not when you love it, not when it's easy, but when every part of you says no, and you choose to do it anyway. You don't build confidence by avoiding hard things. You build it by showing up again and again, especially when it's the last thing you want to do. You walk into the work, not because it feels good, but because you made a promise to yourself. You made a decision to grow, and growth doesn't wait for comfort. It waits for courage. The hard things teach you patience. They force you to slow down and focus. They develop your attention to detail. They sharpen your endurance. And even if you don't enjoy them, you begin to respect them, because you realize that on the other side of effort is change. You see that doing the things you used to hate becomes easier. Not because the task gets lighter, but because you get stronger. Your goals are not built in your comfort zone. They're built in the moments when you want to walk away. And instead you lean in, you keep your posture, you keep your word, you push through the resistance. That's when the shift happens. That's when you stop being someone who tries and start being someone who finishes. Most people wait for the feeling to be right. They wait to want it. But waiting is a trap. You have to act before you feel like it. You have to work before it makes sense. You have to show up when the voice in your head is begging for a break. Because every time you push through that resistance, you take a piece of power back. You take back control from your emotion. You show your mind that it doesn't get to decide the outcome. Hard things won't disappear. They'll keep showing up. But you get better at meeting them. You stop hesitating. You stop complaining. You start moving with more certainty. You know it's not going to be pleasant, but you do it anyway. Because you've seen it happens when you avoid it. You've seen the cost of quitting. You've lived with the regret, and now you're done waiting for easy. Doing what you hate is not about suffering. It's about strength. It's about doing what most people won't. It's about looking at your responsibilities and saying, I'm not going to run anymore. You can't build something meaningful if you keep walking away from effort. You can't rise if you only act when you're in the mood. You can't lead yourself if you only follow feeling. The reason the hard things matter is because they refine you. They push out laziness. They eliminate weakness. They burn away the excuses. They expose the parts you that still want comfort more than progress. And that awareness is a gift, because now you know where you need to grow. You don't need to love the hard things. You just need to do them. You don't need to enjoy the discomfort. You just need to stay committed. This is where discipline becomes identity. It's no longer about the task. It's about the person you're becoming. The kind of Ford who follows through, who doesn't back down, who gets up even when it's heavy. Over time, you stop dreading the hard work. You start respecting it, because you see how it separates the serious from the soft. You see how it sharpens your edge. You see how it builds a version of you that doesn't flinch under pressure. That's who you're building. Someone you can count on. Someone who doesn't fold when it's uncomfortable. You will never regret doing the hard things. You'll only regret avoiding them, because the hard things are the path to everything you want. Growth, confidence, clarity, strength. All of it is on the other side of what you'd rather not do. That's why you must go there. That's why you must face it. The more you practice this, the easier it becomes to act without hesitation. You stop giving yourself extra time to think about whether or not you want to. You just do it, not recklessly, not without purpose, but with the full understanding that you are shaping your future every time you choose effort over ease. The days you don't want to are the days that count the most. That's where champions are built. That's where transformation begins. That's where you step out of average and into excellence. One hard task at a time. One choice to lean in when everything says step back. That's the path. That's the process. That's how you change. Number 7. Win the war within every single day. There's a battle happening inside you from the moment you open your eyes. It's not loud, it doesn't shout, but it's constant. It's the pull between comfort and commitment. It's the tension between what's easy and what's right. It's the inner voice that tells you to rest when you need to move, to quit when you need to push, to hide when you need to show up. This is the real fight. Not against the world, but against the part of you that wants to stay small. Every day you face choices. Not massive, dramatic ones. Simple, quiet choices. Get up or stay in bed. Work or procrastinate. Focus or drift. Train or delay. Each of those moments adds up to one of two results. You either win the war within, or you let it win you. The problem is, most people think the enemy is outside, but the greatest threat to your goals is often the part of you that keeps settling. That's the war, and you win it by deciding, before the noise starts, that your purpose is more important than your feelings, that your actions will match your standard, that your values don't disappear just because your energy dips. You win it by choosing discipline over excuses. You win it by not waiting to feel ready. You win it by moving even when your thoughts scream for you to stop. There's a part of you that wants more. It wants structure. It wants excellence. It wants to grow. But there's also a part that wants comfort, ease, and safety. That part is not evil, but it's dangerous, because it will convince you that average is enough. It will try to talk you out of the hard work. It will whisper that tomorrow is a better day to start. And if you listen, even for a moment, it gains ground. You have to wake up each morning with awareness. You have to be ready, because the war doesn't take breaks. It doesn't pause because you had a good day yesterday. It starts over. Every single day, the doubts come back. The temptations return. The voice of weakness tests your resolve. And every single day, you get a new opportunity to respond. Not with panic, not with fear, with power, with clarity, with a decision that today, again, you will not give in. Winning that war doesn't mean being perfect. It means being intentional. It means knowing the traps and refusing to fall into them. It means being honest about where you tend to break and building systems that keep you from slipping. It means not waiting until you're deep in temptation to decide who you are. You decide in advance. You commit in advance. You prepare in advance. Some days the war is quiet. Some days it's louder than ever. But no matter the volume, your job is to stay centered, to stay committed, to stay anchored in the vision you've built. You don't need to shout it from the rooftops. You just need to keep moving, quietly, strongly, consistently. When the voice of laziness comes, you don't argue, you act. When the feelings of fear come, you don't stall. You move, because you know what's on the line. Your dreams don't depend on the world getting easier. They depend on you becoming stronger. And that strength is not built once. It's built daily, by facing the resistance and not flinching, by making the uncomfortable choice again and again, by pushing back against weakness, not once in a while, but as a lifestyle. That's what separates people who achieve from people who win. Winning the war within means holding yourself to a standard, even when no one else does. It means doing the hard work when no one else is. It means refusing to let the old version of you make decisions for the new one you're building. It means calling out your own excuses and walking straight through them. No delay, no debate. Some will wait for a crisis to change. They wait until everything is falling apart to finally get serious. But you don't have to wait. You can choose today to stop entertaining the voice that says maybe later. You can choose today to get uncomfortable on purpose. You can choose today to build discipline by doing what needs to be done before you're asked to do it. There's no shortcut around this battle. You don't get to skip it. You don't outgrow it. You face it every morning, and the longer you avoid it, the heavier it becomes. But when you face it head on, when you stop making room for hesitation, when you take full responsibility for your direction, you gain power. Not power over other, power over yourself. And that's the kind of power no one can take from you. Most people never develop this kind of strength. Not because they can't, but because they're not willing to be uncomfortable every day. They let one missed day turn into a week, one excuse turn into a routine, one break turn into a breakdown. But you can break that pattern. You can draw the line. You can say enough. You can get back in the fight. Not just once, but every morning. You have to understand that the battle is not won with one big act. It's won through repetition, through consistency, through boring, ordinary discipline. It's not always exciting, but it's always worth it. Because the more you win internally, the less you're affected externally. You stop being shaken by every inconvenience. You stop blaming circumstances. You stop reacting and start leading. When you win the war within, your goals stop being distant. They become reachable, not overnight, but over time, because now you have control. Now you're not constantly starting over. Now you're moving with focus. That's what gives you an edge. Not luck, not hype, just steady, daily victory over your own resistance. The biggest win is not achieving the outcome. It's mastering the behavior. It's becoming the kind of person who doesn't need reminders, who doesn't need pressure, who doesn't need an emergency to act. You act because it's who you are now. You win the internal war, and everything else gets clearer. And when you slip, and you will, you don't collapse. You get up faster. You correct the course. You don't make it personal. You make it practical. You look at what happened. You learn and you get back to work. No self-pity. No dragging your feet. Just back to the fight. Because now you know who you are. You're someone who doesn't wait for conditions to be perfect. You just keep going. Number 8. Stay consistent, even when results feel far away. Consistency is the quiet force behind every success story. It doesn't announce itself with fireworks or instant gratification. It's the patient work you do when nobody is watching and when the reward isn't visible yet. The hardest part about consistency is believing in something you cannot yet see. When you put in effort day after day and the progress feels slow or invisible, that's when most people quit. But the ones who stay consistent understand that results take time. They know that every small step adds up, even if it feels like nothing is happening. Your future success depends on what you do today, even if it feels like the finish line is miles away. You must keep showing up with the same energy and commitment, not because you see immediate proof, but because you believe in the process. This is where discipline becomes your greatest asset. When motivation fades, discipline keeps you going. It's not about chasing feelings. It's about honoring your commitment. You don't work only when you feel like it. You work because you promised yourself you would. That promise is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. The challenge with waiting for results is that your mind plays tricks on you. It convinces you that your efforts are wasted, or that you should try something easier. The temptation to quit grows when the payoff isn't clear. But if you quit, you guarantee failure. You guarantee that your dreams stay distant. If you persist, if you stay steady, you allow time to do its work. Progress is often invisible at first because it happens beneath the surface. Your skills improve, your mindset strengthens, your habits solidify. You are quietly preparing for the breakthrough. Every expert was once a beginner who didn't give up. They faced days filled with doubt and frustration. They questioned if all their effort was worth it, but they chose to keep moving forward, trusting that the slow grind would lead to growth. You can learn from them. The road to achievement is never smooth or fast. It's a series of consistent actions repeated over time that lead to lasting change. What looks like failure or stagnation today is often the foundation for tomorrow's success. Staying consistent also means understanding the difference between speed and direction. It's tempting to want quick wins or instant results, but what matters most is that you're moving in the right direction. If you keep working on the right things consistently, your efforts compound, they multiply, and eventually they become unstoppable. Even if you can't see the end yet, you are building momentum. You are creating an unstoppable force that no temporary setback can stop. Consistency requires patience. It asks you to trust a process that doesn't give immediate feedback. This is difficult because humans crave quick rewards. We want to feel progress every day, but life's most valuable achievements take time. If you treat your goals like a sprint, you'll burn out fast. But if you treat them like a marathon, pacing yourself with daily discipline, you'll last the distance. You'll arrive at your destination stronger and more prepared than you imagined. Another reason people lose consistency is because they focus too much on results and not enough on effort. Results are the fruit of your labor. They depend on many factors, but effort is within your control every day. You can't always guarantee the outcome, but you can guarantee your input. When you shift your focus from outcomes to inputs, you free yourself from frustration. You start measuring success by the work you do, not by the numbers you see right now. When results feel far away, it's easy to doubt yourself. That's why you must create habits that don't rely on motivation or mood. Make your discipline automatic. Build routines so your effort happens without much thought. When you build systems that support your goals, you remove decision fatigue. You remove excuses. You make consistency inevitable. The less you have to think about whether or not to do the work, the easier it becomes to keep going. It's important to celebrate small wins. They remind you that you're making progress even if the big change hasn't arrived yet. Every completed task, every hour invested, every bit of learning is a victory. These moments build confidence and fuel your drive. They keep you focused on what you can control and remind you that slow progress is still progress. When you look back over weeks and months, those small wins add up into a powerful story of growth. Sometimes the journey feels lonely because results don't show up on social media or in public recognition. That's why the fight for consistency is often private. It requires you to stay committed even when no one else notices. When you keep going because of your own standards, not because of applause, you build true discipline. That discipline protects you against distraction and doubt. It prepares you to seize the moment when the opportunity finally arrives. Remember that every great accomplishment was once invisible. Hard work, the hours spent studying, practicing, failing, and trying again, were not glamorous, but they were essential. The gap between where you are and where you want to be is filled with consistent effort. It's the daily choices to stay true to your goals, even when progress feels slow or unclear. It's the refusal to quit that turns dreams into reality. Consistency is not a one-time effort. It's a lifelong commitment to yourself and your vision. It means waking up every day and choosing growth over comfort, choosing action over excuses, choosing discipline over distraction. And even if the results are not immediate, your steady work is planting seeds. Those seeds will grow into success that lasts because it is built on a foundation of unwavering effort and belief. Keep your eyes on your purpose. Keep your heart in the process. Trust the slow, steady work of consistency. That is how you transform your future. That is how you become unstoppable. That is how you win the life you want. Number 9, break your laziness before it breaks your future. Laziness is a silent enemy. It creeps in quietly and slowly erodes your dreams without making a sound. At first, it feels harmless. Just a little rest here, a little delay there. But these small moments add up and become habits. Habits that steal your energy, your time, your potential. If you don't confront laziness now, it will control your future. It will keep you stuck in the same place while others move ahead. The danger of laziness is that it disguises itself as comfort. It tricks you into thinking that you deserve a break or that you will start tomorrow. But every time you let laziness win, you lose a piece of your future. You lose the chance to grow, to improve, to get closer to your goals. It's easy to ignore the cost today because the consequences are often invisible. But over time, laziness builds a barrier between where you are and where you want to be. Your future depends on the actions you take right now. If you choose to put off important tasks or avoid effort, your future will reflect those choices. Laziness doesn't just delay your progress. It stops it. It drains your energy and clouds your mind. It dulls your ambition. If left unchecked, it becomes a pattern that's hard to break. And when you reach the moment where success is possible, you might find yourself unprepared because laziness held you back. Breaking laziness requires awareness. You have to recognize when it shows up. Sometimes it comes as distraction. Sometimes as excuses. Sometimes as fatigue. But the moment you feel resistance to work, that is your warning sign. That is the point where you must act. Don't wait until laziness takes full control. Step in immediately and make a different choice. It's not about waiting to feel motivated. It's about deciding to act, even when motivation is low. One of the most powerful ways to fight laziness is to create momentum. Start with small actions. Take the first step, no matter how small. Movement creates energy. Once you begin, it becomes easier to continue. Laziness thrives in stillness. When you remain idle, your mind convinces you to stay there. But once you break the pattern and get moving, your body and mind follow. You will find strength you didn't expect, because action builds confidence. Discipline is your best weapon against laziness. It gives you a reason to keep going even when you don't feel like it. When you develop a habit of discipline, you build a shield against the temptation to delay or avoid. Discipline is not punishment. It's a commitment to your own growth. It's the practice of choosing what's best for your future, instead of what feels easy today. Every time you choose discipline over laziness, you grow stronger. It's important to understand that laziness is not about being tired or needing rest. Rest is necessary and valuable. Laziness is when you use rest as an excuse to avoid what needs to be done. It's when you replace effort with excuses. When you justify delay because the task feels hard or boring. Learning to distinguish between genuine rest and laziness is crucial. Rest rejuvenates you, but laziness drains you. You must also guard your environment. Laziness often grows in places where distractions are abundant and accountability is absent. If you surround yourself with habits and people that encourage delay or avoidance, laziness will thrive. But if you create an environment that supports focus and effort, laziness loses its grip. Structure your day. Set clear goals, remove distractions, build routines that leave little room for hesitation. Another key to breaking laziness is to remind yourself of the cost. Think about what laziness will do to your dreams, how it will steal opportunities, damage your confidence, and limit your potential. When the temptation to give in arises, bring your vision to the front of your mind. Remember why you started. Remember what you're fighting for. Let that purpose be stronger than your desire to avoid effort. Sometimes laziness is a mask for fear. Fear of failure, fear of discomfort, fear of change. You might avoid work because you're afraid the results won't be what you want. You might delay because you don't want to face challenges. Recognizing this fear can help you push through laziness. Courage doesn't mean feeling no fear. It means acting despite fear. When you face your fears, laziness loses its power. You don't have to conquer laziness all at once. It's a daily fight. Every moment you face the urge to quit or delay, you have a chance to win or lose. Your future is built by these daily victories. You can choose to give in, or you can choose to rise. Each time you choose to rise, you are breaking a piece of laziness's hold on your life. The cost of ignoring laziness is too high. Your dreams deserve your effort. Your future deserves your commitment. You owe it to yourself to fight for the life you want. When you break laziness, you open the door to growth, success, and fulfillment. You become the person who takes control instead of waiting for things to happen. You build a future that reflects your best efforts. Every choice matters. Every decision to act builds your momentum. Every step forward weakens laziness's grip. You have the power to change your habit. You have the power to break free, but it requires honesty, courage, and consistent effort. It requires you to put your future above temporary comfort. The moment you decide to break your laziness, you start winning your future. You start building a life that matches your dream. You start becoming the person you are meant to be. The key is simple but not easy. Act now. Don't wait for motivation. Don't wait for the perfect time. Act now because your future is counting on it. Number 10, master your choices if you want real freedom. Freedom is not about doing whatever you want at any given moment. True freedom comes from mastering the choices you make every day. When you allow your impulses, moods, and distractions to dictate your actions, you become a slave to circumstance. Real freedom means having control over your decisions. It means choosing what aligns with your values and goals rather than what feels easy or comfortable in the moment. Without this mastery, freedom is an illusion. Each choice you make shapes your future. Every decision is a step toward the life you desire or away from it. It may seem small or insignificant at the time, but over weeks and months, these choices build patterns. Some patterns limit you and hold you back. Others empower you and push you forward. To master your choices means you take full responsibility for what you decide. No matter how tempting it is blame your environment or feelings. Mastering your choices starts with awareness. You must recognize when you are making decisions based on impulse or habit, instead of intention. The more conscious you become about your daily decisions, the more power you gain. You start seeing moments where you can choose differently. You learn to pause instead of react. You develop the skill to evaluate what really serves your long-term success versus what offers momentary satisfaction. When you understand that every choice has consequences, you begin to prioritize wisely. You stop living for instant gratification. Instead, you look at the bigger picture. You ask yourself if this decision brings you closer to your goals or pulls you further away. That shift in perspective creates space for discipline to grow. Discipline is not punishment. It's freedom in disguise. It's the ability to say no now, so you can say yes to greater opportunities later. It's important to realize that mastering choices is a daily practice. No one achieves it perfectly overnight. You will slip up. You will make decisions that don't align with your best interests. But the difference between freedom and bondage is how you respond. When you mess up, you don't quit or blame yourself. You recommit. You analyze what led to the wrong choice. Then you adjust your actions going forward. This process builds strength and control over time. One of the biggest challenges to mastering your choices is managing distraction. We live in a world full of constant interruptions and temptations. It's easy to get pulled away from what matters by social media, entertainment, or even negative thoughts. But when you practice controlling your attention, you reclaim your freedom. You decide where to focus your energy. You protect your mind from what doesn't serve you. That focus becomes a powerful tool in making better decisions. Another key factor is setting boundaries. Mastering choices means saying no to things that drain your time and energy. It means protecting your priorities even when others don't understand. Freedom requires limits. Without boundaries, you risk giving your power away to outside influences. By clearly defining what you will and will not accept, you guard your ability to make choices that align with your purpose. Your habits also influence your choices. When you build positive routines, many decisions become automatic and easier. This reduces mental fatigue and makes it less likely you'll give in to poor choices. Habits work for or against you depending on what you build. Mastery comes from intentionally creating habits that support your goals so you don't have to rely solely on willpower each time. The mindset behind mastering choices is rooted in ownership. You own your life. You own your outcomes. No one else is responsible for your success or failure. This mindset excuses and empowers you to act. It frees you from waiting on others or blaming circumstances. When you take ownership, you unlock your ability to create meaningful change. Freedom through mastery of choice also means embracing delay of gratification. You learn to accept discomfort and delay pleasure for the sake of a bigger reward. This is one of the most difficult lessons because it requires patience and faith in the process. But those who master this ability find their freedom multiplied. They don't get trapped by fleeting desires or momentary impulses. They move steadily toward their vision. It's also important to understand that mastering your choices affects all areas of life: health, relationships, career, mindset. Every decision contributes to the whole. You cannot expect freedom in one area if you neglect others. True mastery means aligning your choices across all parts of your life. This creates harmony and balance, making your freedom stable and lasting. You don't have to wait for perfect conditions to start mastering your choices. The moment you decide to take control is the moment your freedom begins. Start small by making conscious decisions and daily routines. Build confidence with each right choice. Over time, these decisions compound and create momentum. This momentum propels you toward the life you want, without being held back by impulses or distractions. Mastery of choice is a form of self-respect. It shows that you value your time, energy, and dreams enough to protect them. It proves that you are not a victim of circumstance, but a creator of your reality. When you master your choices, you claim your power. You unlock true freedom. Freedom that is not based on external conditions, but on your internal strength and clarity. The journey to mastering your choices is ongoing. It requires patience, practice, and persistence. You will face challenges and temptations, but each time you choose wisely, you reinforce your freedom. You build a life where your actions reflect your deepest values and goals. This is the kind of freedom that lasts. The kind of freedom that empowers you to live fully and confidently on your own terms.